Okay, so I have some friends who live in Chicago, and one of them was like, hey, Gappy, now that you're in Chicago, let's meet up, you know? He was an older guy. Like he was like my old speech and debate coach in high school. So I'm like, fuck it, if you're in Chicago, let's do it, you know? What do we call the guy? What's like an old guy name? Unk? No one's named Unk. Gary? Sure, we'll call him Gary. I used to work with him back in Washington State. I was a legal assistant. So for old Gapsters who really remember the Gapster lore, me and Gary, but really Gary, because he's the attorney, we managed to get somebody who pled guilty to murder from life in prison without parole to 3 months probation. We got a guy off on murder, basically. That's how fucking good Gary was, and technically I was, because I helped out too. The story is crazy. I have to be careful with the words that I use here. So there was this guy, this is back in like high school. There was this guy, we'll call him Asian dude. We'll call him Lee. Okay, sure, we'll go with Lee, okay? No, not Liam, Lee. Brock Lee. Dude, that's just insulting. You want me to call him Rock Lee instead? You want me to call him Cheech and Chong or some shit at that rate, okay? Come on. We'll go with Lee. Lee was a IT guy who worked at a church, or who did stuff at his local church. He was a very devout Christian. And at his church, there was a homeless guy. We'll call him Kim. Kim was like really cold, and this is Washington State, right? It's super duper cold and shit, right? And so Lee, being nice to Kim, is like, hey, Kim, why don't you stay in my place, like for free? I know you're homeless or whatever. I don't want you to die in the cold, you know? So Lee lets Kim stay with him. And so Kim is a nice guest and everything. He's homeless, but he's still trying to learn. He's trying to get a job and stuff. But slowly Kim starts talking about weird things. Kim starts talking about how he hears voices. Kim starts talking about how he's hearing God, which like to Lee, I guess is cool. Cause like, oh, maybe he's becoming Christian or whatever. Are you allowed to talk about this on stream? I am, yeah. The case is resolved and shit. It's like yeah. Kim eventually starts talking about how he might be God and how he might have to like kill people in order to become God or whatever, and how people like Lee might be trying to destroy God or whatever. And so Lee's like, bro, what the fuck? What the actual fuck, bro? I'm just trying to keep you out of the cold. So Lee calls the police and he's like, yo, cops, can you kick this guy out of my home? This guy's like literally kind of being crazy and like kind of threatening to kill me, and this is my house. And the cops go, yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. What? What do you mean? What do you mean you can't do anything about it? Huh? I don't know exactly why the cops said they couldn't do anything about it, but like, that's just fucking insane to me, right? I don't know, there was some crazy obscure tenants law that I'm not aware of, but like squatters' rights or some shit that I'm not aware of, but like, I don't even know how he's squatting. Lee was living there with Kim. But the cops were basically like, no, we can't do anything. Technically a civil matter. He never entered a rent agreement. He never entered any sort of rent agreement or anything. It's just, hey, I let you inside my home. Okay, now leave. You can get someone out of your own house, doesn't matter. So if I go to your house for a dinner party and then I say, I refuse to leave now, you can't call the cops to kick me out. What are you talking about? Yeah, but it's just people talking with no hard law broken. There might be an issue with how long Kim was staying, but literally, yes. It's different if they live there. Yeah, I guess that if the problem is maybe the cops, I don't know how Washington State it's defined as to how you live there, you know? Okay, but that's besides the point. There are cases where people renting Airbnb and don't leave. Yeah, but there's an argument that you have a contract there because you're renting through Airbnb. This guy wasn't paying shit. It was just a guy who was let in. Anyways, besides the point. Cops say there's nothing that can happen. Lee's like, bro, what the fuck is going on? This Kim guy's getting crazier and crazier. Lee starts carrying a Glock in his pocket at all times in his own house because he's worried Kim's gonna kill him. And so one day, Lee's at his computer working or whatever. Kim comes from behind and Kim stole one of Lee's tasers and tases Lee from behind. And so Kim, or Lee's on the ground, Kim's standing on top with the taser, right? And Lee pulls out his pistol and shoots Kim 3 times, right? What the fuck? Yeah, imagine an Asian guy named Kim who's an asshole. You know, I know it's unfathomable to you. And so Kim obviously dies. Lee calls the police and shit. What, does he have a taser laying around? Oh boy. Lee was a fan of collecting guns and weapons. You cannot make this up. Lee was a huge fan of collecting big guns and weapons for some reason. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. K Kona, dude. Damn right, buddy. He had so many guns and shit. This is in Georgia? No, Washington State. These kind of stuff, well, it was just a hobby he had for years or whatever. And I mean, like, K Kona as fuck, right? But I mean, he's allowed to, you know, it's his right, you know? And so the cops talk to him and shit. And eventually, the cops arrest Lee. And the prosecutors, after hearing all the facts, after hearing the same exact story I told you, decide to charge Lee with first-degree murder. So intent to cause harm. Why? It's because he shot 3 to 4 times and not once. Oh my God, dude. Oh my fucking, because he shot 4 times instead of once? Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Bro, it's not like, oh my God, he had shot him once, he fell on the ground, and then he shot him 3 more times. Like, he shot him 4 times in a row. Like, bro, fuck, he's on the ground, the other guy's on top with a taser, dude. What the fuck? Oh my God, man. Bro. So, the attorney I worked for, what was his name? I'm trying to remember all the names because I don't want to say their real names. Gary. Gary takes on the case, right? Which is great. And originally they were going to fight the case, plead not guilty and fight it. Because, like, you know, anybody who hears that story thinks, what the fuck? This is self-defense, right? Unfortunately, Lee made the biggest mistake you could possibly ever make. He talked to the police in an interrogation. Reminder number 2000. Under no circumstances ever should you ever talk to the cops if they read you your Miranda rights, okay? It's not about, oh, all cops are bad or whatever. However you feel about cops, whether you think they're good, they're bad, in between, whatever you feel. It's about protecting your own ass. They are literally trained to get confessions out of you. They are professional rage baiters. Only instead of baiting you into raging, they're baiting you into admitting you committed a fucking federal offense that gets you life in prison, all right? He didn't confess to it, but he did say things that made him look bad. And so we decided, fuck it, we ball. What if we plead guilty, do a plea bargain, and get it down to 2nd-degree murder, and we'll just try to go for probation. And I don't know what the fuck Gary was thinking, but Gary was like, don't worry, man. I know this judge. Worst case scenario, we appeal. I think we can get probation. I've never heard of somebody get probation for pleading guilty to murder. Which when he said, fuck it, we ball after hearing you talk to the cop. Well, they didn't say it, but like, that was the vibe. So Gary, decides, let's go for probation, right? Maybe the judge will give it because it's clearly self-defense and they can see it as a mitigating factor. So my job, and this job, it was wholesome, but it also sucked, is I had to figure out which witnesses we should call for, like, you know how like when someone's found guilty of a crime, they'll have people come up, like the victims talk and shit, and then they'll have people on behalf of the family talk, right? The goal of that is just for the judge to decide how long they should sentence you. Obviously the victim, the homeless guy, didn't have anybody show up, right? So it was just a prosecutor talking. I had to sift through about like 200 individually written letters directed to Gary and like the court and shit to figure out which ones were the saddest and like the things that we would think like the judge would like cry to the most, you know? And there were so many sad letters. There was a guy who talked about how like Lee helped him, you know, in a dark place in his life. There were these kids who were like, we like Mr. Lee. He helps us with our calculus homework and we're in 5th grade or like 7th grade. Like, girl, what the fuck? You're in 7th grade doing calculus because of this Lee guy? Get this guy into the fucking, into fucking NASA, man. Why the fuck is he going to jail? Bro. And because of all this shit, like the courtroom was packed. I wanted to go, but I didn't end up going because I genuinely was like, I felt so nervous. I didn't want to go. But apparently the courtroom was packed with like, for a sentencing hearing, like overflow part for this overflow seating from all of his church members for this shit, because and like community members, because everybody liked this Lee guy, and the judge gave him probation, and the judge said on the record, this is very clearly a case of self-defense. So like, you know, like the judge understood what was going on, so that's how he got probation, right? So even though he knew he did nothing wrong, He pleaded guilty and he got a way reduced sentence, you know? So W Gary, technically W Gappy, but it was mostly Gary, and W Lee. Okay, I'm good. He's doing fine now. I think he sold all of his guns. I'm not even joking. He sold all of his guns afterwards because he was obviously like traumatized by the incident. So W Gary, good for Lee, all right? Was on his record then? Yeah, he's a convicted criminal, but he has probation. So how are you doing all of that in high school? I was on the speech and debate team and he was one of the coaches. It was a fun experience. That being said, I would never, do you keep in touch with Lee? No, it would probably be inappropriate for me to do it as like a random employee, but I think Lee would talk to my attorney guy, Gary, for a while. Yeah, having that on your record is brutal. Thankfully, he was like a contractor doing IT work, and like nobody's going to fire him because of it. They all knew he was a good guy, right? It's on the record. It was self-defense. Like, I think he's doing fine. He just sold all of his guns and shit. So that's the attorney I was hanging out with, you know, kicking the shit with in Chicago, right?